Hey again, this is Manny, one of the producers of the channel. I just want to let you know that the episodes are now podcasts too. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Audible, Pandora, and pretty much anywhere you listen. Same cozy stories, just easier to take on the go and with no ads. Just look us up by the same name, Deep Sleep Stories, and search for our logo. I'm also adding the links in the description below. Thank you so much for the support.
Welcome to Deep Sleep Stories, a place where you can let go of the day's cares and drift into a realm of gentle rest. You are invited to settle in comfortably, perhaps lying down or reclining, with your eyes already growing heavy. Notice the softness beneath you and the delicate hush in the air. As your breathing deepens, allow the tension in your muscles to loosen ever so slowly, melting away with each steady inhale and smooth exhale. In a few moments, you will journey through a serene tale of floating along the Amalfi Coast, where turquoise waters and quaint seaside villages envelop you in warm, sunlit peace. For now, breathe in the comforting quiet of this moment, letting any stray thoughts tumble softly aside, creating space for deep relaxation. You may feel a gentle wave of calm coursing through you, a soothing reminder that this time belongs to you, and only you. In this welcoming hush, the day's bustle grows faint, like distant footsteps fading away. No matter what came before this moment, you can let it rest behind you now, drifting off into the background of your mind. Feel the quiet hush of anticipation of the coming story, an invitation to step across the threshold into a dreamy place where your worries cannot follow. With each breath, you nourish your sense of calm, breathing in a light that feels warm and inviting, breathing out any lingering concerns that might weigh on your heart. In this cocoon of contentment, you're free to close your eyes, if you haven't already, and let the gentle images begin to float across your awareness. Soften your thoughts, release the tensions of your day, and let yourself be carried by the lullaby of words that now begin to unfold, slowly and sweetly, like a soft breeze by the sea. On a tranquil morning, a small cruise ship glided across gentle waters, the hull casting shimmering reflections onto the surface of the Mediterranean. Painted in a soft, pearly white, the vessel seemed like a cloud drifting just above the waterline. The sun was only beginning to ascend the horizon, its light washing the sky with pastels of peach and lavender, as if the day itself were carefully awakened by an artist's brush. A handful of early risers gathered at the deck rails, gazing out at the endless expanse of water and marveling at the hush that surrounded them. Their minds felt unhurried, lulled by the faint pulse of the engines and the subtle sway of the ship. Seagulls circled overhead, their calls weaving into the gentle hum of morning. Far ahead, the silhouette of the Amalfi coastline began to emerge, silhouettes of rolling hills and high cliffs set against the pale sky. The ocean surface was mirror calm, only the slightest ripples marking the path of the ship. Sea salt lingered in the air, mingling with the faint aroma of freshly brewed coffee from within the cruise liner. For these travelers, there was a sense that time had momentarily slowed, each moment drawn out for careful appreciation. The water's color, shifting between turquoise and sapphire, offered a mesmerizing invitation to quiet reflection. In that stillness, breath deepened, and any burdens that might have traveled with them seemed lighter with each gentle roll of the sea beneath. As the ship drew closer to the Amalfi Coast, the rising sun began to illuminate the rugged cliffs that sheltered tiny villages nestled in the rocks, as if placed there by a caring hand. Here, pastel houses perched precariously, their walls painted in soft yellows, pinks, and whites, harmonizing with the rich blues of the sea below. Brightly colored fishing boats dotted the shoreline, bobbing gently, each painted with vibrant hues that shimmered like jewels. Flowers bloomed in terraces along the hills, their delicate blossoms opening to greet the day. The hush of the morning seemed to linger, as though the coastline itself was still luxuriating in the final moments of dawn before the bustle of daily life began. Seagulls trailed alongside the ship, their flight graceful and unhurried, following an ancient rhythm that had repeated countless times against these shores. Occasionally, a gentle breeze would catch the travelers by surprise, carrying with it the scent of citrus from nearby lemon groves. The combination of salt air and fresh lemons was unexpectedly soothing, as if nature itself orchestrated a gentle lullaby. Soon, the ship would set anchor near a small harbor where the day's slow, meandering adventures would begin. In one of the cozy cabins aboard, the quiet occupant stirred at the soft clang of the anchor dropping. Slivers of early light danced across the cabin floor, beckoning the traveler to open their eyes. The bed felt warm and welcoming, gently swaying with the movement of the ship. A faint smile touched the traveler's lips as the first conscious breath of the day filled the lungs, reminding them of the promise of new wonders along the coastline. This would be a day of languid exploration, a slow stroll through seaside villages, lazy hours spent beneath the sun's gentle rays, and a shared hush with the ever-constant presence of the sea. Stepping out onto the deck, the traveler's heart lifted at the sight of land so close at hand. The harbor at which the vessel paused was small and inviting, guarded by a curving stone pier. The water's clarity revealed rocky seabeds and drifting schools of tiny fish, their silver scales shimmering like bits of sunken treasure. Above, vibrant blossoms spilled over flower boxes perched on balconies. The faint sound of laughter carried from a fisherman chatting with a fruit vendor near the docks. Life here seemed to proceed at a quiet pace, unaffected by the frantic ticking of clocks or the persistent chime of alerts and alarms. When the tender boat eased away from the cruise ship, ferrying the traveler to the harbor, the hush of the morning was punctuated by the soft lapping of water against the small vessel's sides. The gentle hum of the outboard motor was the only intrusion in the stillness. Drifting toward the old stone quay, where seagulls strutted confidently in search of a morsel of bread, the traveler felt a calm sense of anticipation. As soon as the tender touched the quay, the subtle motions of the sea gave way to the grounded stillness of land. Yet, with each step, a pleasant memory of the ocean's gentle rocking lingered, and it was as though the body had memorized the soothing rhythm of waves. the village revealed itself slowly, like a secret whispered by ancient walls. Narrow alleyways twisted in graceful arcs, lined with pastel-hued houses whose shutters were thrown open to greet the day. Sunlight spilled onto the cobblestone streets, chasing away the last of the morning shadows. Nearby, a small cafe displayed wicker chairs arranged under a yellow awning. A couple of locals sat sipping espresso, their conversation floating softly through the air like notes of a distant melody. The traveler paused there for a moment, taking in the scent of warm bread and freshly brewed coffee, savoring the gentle tingle of gratitude for life's simplest pleasures. A wide staircase of worn stone led upward to a tiny piazza framed by lemon trees, their blossoms fragrant and pure against the bright sun. The steps were shallow, each one a reminder of the unhurried pace of this coastal enclave. The traveler ascended slowly, in no hurry at all. Reaching the top, a panoramic view unfurled, the sea extending in a tranquil sweep, the cruise ship bobbing idly near the harbor, and the vast horizon where sky kissed water. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves of the lemon trees, carrying the sweet, citrus-tinged air around the piazza, as though wrapping the traveler in the region's comforting embrace. Time seemed pleasantly suspended. The traveler wandered along a path lined with terracotta pots overflowing with fragrant blooms, geraniums, bougainvillea, and tiny daisies dancing in the light. The conversation of a few passers-by blended with the distant hush of the waves. The traveler observed details that might be overlooked in a busier pace of life. The subtle texture of old walls warmed by the sun, the lichen that trimmed the edges of a time-worn fountain, the contented expression of a napping cat curled in a patch of sunshine. Here, in the quiet heart of the Amalfi Coast, a gentle magic seemed to flourish, and the traveler welcomed it without question or rush. Later that morning, beneath a sky that had grown a comforting shade of blue, the traveler strolled downhill toward the seaside promenade, where gentle waves brushed against the pebbled shore. Small fishing boats swayed near the docks, their engines silent as the owners prepared nets for the next venture onto the open water. An unhurried walk led the traveler to a lookout perched at the edge of a cliff. The panorama that opened before them was enough to still any restless thought. Villages perched like pastel jewels along the slopes, rolling greenery that fell away toward a shoreline of infinite azure. There was a timeless quality to the scene, as though centuries of peaceful living had seeped into the very stones and vines of the region. The midday sun rose higher, gilding each rooftop with golden brilliance. Birds soared overhead, dipping and diving along the currents that funneled between the cliffs. The traveler found a small bench, perfectly placed to capture the ocean breeze, and sank into its simple comfort. Thoughts drifted like leaves on a stream, easily floating away in the presence of the view. Beneath the warm sunshine, with the rhythmic hush of the water lapping the shore below, the traveler felt a delicious drowsiness. There was no pressing need, no schedule that demanded anything more than a quiet, gentle immersion in the wonder of this moment. Even the day itself seemed to be lulled, letting its hours unfold at a graceful pace. Eventually, the traveler decided to return to the tender, for the cruise liner beckoned with the promise of a sunlit vantage from the sea. Once aboard, the vessel pulled anchor and set a slow course along the coastline, offering glimpses of hidden coves and quaint beaches glimmering beneath the midday sun. Passing by lemon groves on the terraced hills, the traveler's attention was drawn to the vibrant greenery, each citrus tree bursting with bright, sun-soaked fruit. The water below glistened, reflecting dancing patterns of light across the ship's hull. Even the mild hum of conversation among passengers was subdued, as though no one wished to disturb the serenity that the coast so generously provided. Past each bend of the coastline, a new view revealed itself. Whitewashed chapels perched near the crags, steps carved into the rock leading down to pebble-strewn beaches, and clusters of colorful dwellings huddled together in friendly clusters. The ship's slow, gentle progress made it feel as if each detail were displayed in a leisurely pageant of coastal beauty. The breeze carried a comforting warmth, kindly tempered by the ocean's cooling breath. The traveler rested on a lounge chair, letting eyelids grow heavy, lulled by the rise and fall of calm waters. Soft footsteps passed, perhaps a fellow passenger seeking a quiet corner of the deck, but no sound lasted long enough to interrupt the lull that wrapped itself around every sense. By mid-afternoon, the ship approached another harbor, this one slightly more bustling than the earlier stop. Yet even here, the pace remained comfortably relaxed. Rows of houses in soft pastels crowned the shoreline, while bright umbrellas lined a small beach where a few families lounged, children giggling at the water's edge. The traveler chose to stay aboard this time, content to let the world come into view from the vantage of the deck rail. A new wave of guests disembarked, stepping onto the tender with wide, expectant smiles. Meanwhile, others returned, happily carrying small souvenirs: a jar of local honey, a woven basket, a polished seashell found along the shore. Their contented expressions spoke of a day well spent. The traveler observed it all with quiet appreciation, breathing in the gentle lull of the sea air. The tide of daily life here was as calm and predictable as the ocean's slow heartbeat. The ship once more set a relaxed course, gliding past more hidden inlets where green hills sprawled gently against the sea. In the distance, a solitary watchtower stood at the edge of a cliff, its ancient stone silhouette a testament to centuries of stories woven along the coast. The traveler's gaze traced the outline of steep trails that zigzagged into the hills, imagining the quiet footsteps of villagers who had traversed those paths for generations. Each scene felt imbued with a peaceful continuity, linking the past with the present in a softly whispered conversation. Overhead, scattered clouds drifted languidly across the sky, casting shifting patches of shade over the water. A dapple of light and shadow played across the deck, a soothing and ever-changing pattern. Evening approached with a gentle shift in light. The sky began to blush with pastel hues, reflections dancing on the slowly undulating surface of the sea. The traveler wandered inside the cruise ship for a moment, passing through corridors softly lit, where plush seating beckoned to those who wished to watch the coast from behind the large glass windows. But the outside world was too inviting to resist for long, so the traveler soon returned to the deck for the final display of daylight. In the golden hour, the Amalfi Coast glowed as though lit from within, each tiny village warm with lamplight, as day gracefully handed over the stage to evening. The hush that fell was reverent, as though nature and humanity paused in admiration of the twilight. As the sun finally dipped below the horizon, the first stars emerged in the quiet sky. A crescent moon offered a gentle glow, casting a silvery path upon the water. The traveler noticed other ships anchored in small bays, their lights flickering like low-hanging stars across the surface of the sea. Soft laughter and murmured voices wafted from the open windows of nearby coastal homes. Perhaps families gathered around a table to share stories of the day. or old friends reminisced under the gentle hum of night's approach. There was a special comfort in knowing that life continued in these simple rhythms, unhurried and at peace. Night gradually draped the world in a veil of calm. Subtle, fragrant notes of night-blooming flowers drifted across the deck, and the traveler gazed at the moonlit outline of the cliffs. A hush settled, deeper than the one of morning, as though the sea cradled the coastline in a tender, lulling embrace. Somewhere in the distance, a faint guitar melody floated across the water, its gentle chords blending with the soothing lullaby of the waves. Leaning against the deck rail, the traveler felt a pleasant weight of contentment press softly against weary shoulders. It was the promise of deep rest, the invitation to slip further into the comforting darkness of this tranquil night. Heading back to the quiet of a cabin, the traveler passed softly lit hallways, the glow subdued to encourage relaxation. A hush reigned among those who still wandered the corridors, as if everyone understood that this was an hour reserved for repose. The cabin itself was cool and inviting, with crisp linens waiting to envelop the traveler's body in gentle warmth. The ship's gentle rocking had become a familiar companion, easing the transition from wakefulness to the threshold of dreams. Through the cabin window, the moon cast its gentle light across the tops of the waves, and it seemed as if the world outside was lulled by an ancient lullaby, an unwavering constant in a changing world. As the traveler settled onto the bed, the slow pulse of ocean rhythms coaxed the mind toward stillness. Breaths became calm and even, in time with the faint sway of the vessel. No pressing thoughts remained, replaced by gratitude for the day's meandering joys. The memory of pastel houses, fragrant lemon blossoms, and azure waters drifted through the traveler's consciousness, each image painting itself gently onto the canvas of dreams. Before sleep fully claimed them, the faint memory of gulls calling along a sunlit shore surfaced, a final reminder of the harmonious dance between land, sea, and sky. Outside, night blanketed the Amalfi Coast with the same tender hush that soothed the hearts of those aboard the cruise ship. The sea, ever constant, carried the faint reflection of moonlight. In distant villages, lanterns glowed softly on balconies and piazzas, echoing the stars above. This was a place accustomed to quiet marvels, the kind that invite gratitude rather than demand attention. Even the breath of the wind seemed subdued, as if nature had orchestrated a perfect calm for those who needed rest. And so, the hours flowed gently onward, guided by the hypnotic pulse of the waves. In that reassuring darkness, it was easy to forget the busyness of life beyond the horizon. No city lights intruded here, no clamoring horns disturbed the hush. The traveler's mind and spirit found a serene space, nestled in the cradle of the coast. The words of the day were no longer necessary. The memory of the gentle climb to a sunlit piazza and the comforting glow of lemon groves was all that remained. Overhead, constellations traced ancient stories across the sky, but even they seemed content to twinkle gently, as if not to disturb the slumber of the sea below. The night's profound stillness was enough to fill the spirit with wonder, easing the traveler into soft and restful sleep. The morning would come again soon, bringing with it the promise of another day's gentle discoveries. But for now, in this quiet hour, all was calm. The traveler's breathing slowed to match the lapping of water against the ship's hull, a lullaby of gentle murmurs and hushed sighs. Thoughts slipped away one by one, replaced by the soothing darkness that gently closed in. In that comfortable quiet, the boundaries between dream and reality blurred, like the meeting of sea and sky at the horizon. All that mattered was the moment, suspended in a tranquil hush as the traveler slipped ever deeper into slumber's embrace. The hush of the night became an invitation for all senses to rest. Nothing was urgent, nothing demanded wakefulness. The traveler's heart beat in a slow rhythm, the body afloat in a blissful space between consciousness and dream. The cabin's walls felt like a safe cocoon, softly illuminated by the moonlight that found its way through the window. The sea's gentle rocking continued its soothing dialogue, as steady and nurturing as a mother's lullaby. In this timeless pause, the traveler's spirit expanded into a landscape of restful possibilities, where each breath carried them deeper into the cradle of night. The sound of water lapping against the ship's side became a quiet mantra, a symbol of nature's patient presence. Outside, stars wheeled slowly across the heavens, their lights flickering with ancient wisdom. The few clouds that drifted across the sky were veils that never quite concealed the endless sparkles beyond. Occasionally, the faint glimmer of a distant lighthouse would reach across the dark water, a discreet signal of safe harbors yet to come. But even that was a gentle pulse, never intruding on the restful peace that blanketed the traveler's mind. The hush was everything now, a tender cloak that wrapped the ship and its dreaming guests in stillness, as if the world had closed its eyes along with them, content to drift in the gentleness of this deep, welcoming night. Let the pace of each breath slow further, growing softer as the night deepens. The story of the day has been told, and now its echoes dissolve into a comforting silence. Each moment extends, unhurried, offering space for your mind to settle into calm. The swaying of the ship blends with the peaceful images of the Amalfi Coast, making each exhale feel just a bit more releasing. There's nothing left that needs your attention. Now, like the traveler settling down in a cozy cabin, you too can let the soothing darkness cradle you. No more words, no more thoughts, just the gentle tide of breath leading you further and further into a realm of rest. In this last whisper of wakefulness, allow the day to fade completely. Imagine the moonlit waves outside your window, their quiet, shimmering, lulling you as you drift. Everything is at ease, and you are safe, cocooned in the rhythms of deep relaxation. Let the lull of the sea be your guide, carrying you to the shores of slumber. You are afloat in a sanctuary of calm, rocked gently by serenity, and protected by the peaceful night. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well.